The soft morning light spilled across my desk, glinting off the glass of my office windows and warming the leather-bound journal I kept for private thoughts. I straightened the cuff of my silk blouse and ran my fingers over the smooth surface, a small ritual to steady myself before the day began. My office was quiet, almost impossibly calm, yet a part of me always braced for disruption. Memories had a way of sneaking in, uninvited. A buzz from my phone shattered the stillness. I glanced down, a message from Tyler, a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years. My chest tightened. He had taken my old office years ago, pushing me to leave with that smug sense of entitlement that only family can muster. And now, his name blinking on my screen felt like a trigger pulled straight from the past. I hesitated before opening it, feeling a cocktail of curiosity, irritation, and, strangely, anticipation. My mind wandered to the years I spent rebuilding from scratch, the quiet victories no one ever noticed. The hum of traffic outside became background music to the irony. Here I was, running my own thriving company in the very same city, yet somehow, the old wound was itching again. I set my coffee mug down, the warmth radiating through my fingers, and took a deep breath. Today, I realized, was about closure, about showing, not telling, how far I had come. The memories of that stolen office weren't going to dictate my future anymore. It's strange how certain memories refuse to fade, no matter how much success you stack on top of them. For me, it was the day I lost my first real office. I was 24 then, barely finding my footing in the corporate world. My desk wasn't much: cheap oak veneer, a second-hand chair that squeaked every time I shifted, but to me it was a throne. It was proof that I belonged somewhere beyond just fetching coffee and stapling reports. Tyler, my cousin, never saw it that way. He walked in one Friday afternoon, all polished shoes and rehearsed confidence, and with a single smirk turned my world upside down. "You don't mind moving out of this space, do you, Sam?" he said casually, like he was asking me to pass the salt. "They're giving me a promotion, and this office is part of the package. I'm sure you'll find something smaller, somewhere down the hall." My throat tightened. My hands went clammy against the edge of the desk. I wanted to argue, to scream that I had earned the space, that I'd worked late nights when he was out networking at happy hours. But in that moment, my voice betrayed me. It cracked, then collapsed altogether. I nodded instead, pretending it didn't matter, though inside it felt like the floor had caved beneath me. I remember packing my things into a worn cardboard box, trying to keep my hands steady as I pulled down the one framed photo of Grandma Rose, the only person who ever told me, "Samantha, you don't need anyone's permission to shine." She had given me that frame the week before I started the job, along with her old fountain pen. "Write your story," she told me, "even if others try to erase it." That pen became my anchor. As I carried the box past Tyler, who barely acknowledged me, I swore I'd use it to sign something bigger one day. Maybe not today, maybe not next year, but someday. Walking out of that office, I felt like I'd been erased, an afterthought, dismissed and replaced. But underneath the humiliation burned something I hadn't expected: resolve. If Tyler wanted that tiny corner of authority so badly, he could have it. I was going to find something he could never take from me. And that was the day I chose independence over approval. Starting over felt like freefall. After Tyler took my office, I ended up in a shared workspace across town. No nameplate on the door, no privacy, just a rented desk with a chair that still wobbled when I leaned back too far. But I reminded myself, Grandma Rose's pen was still in my bag, and I still had my ambition. At first, the nights were the hardest. I'd sit hunched over my laptop in that noisy workspace, surrounded by other dreamers chasing ideas that sounded too big for the rooms we were in. The hum of fluorescent lights blended with the chatter of strangers, and I drowned in spreadsheets, budgets, and endless rejection emails. My fingers ached from typing proposals no one wanted to read, and more than once, I cried into a cold takeout container of lo mein, wondering if Tyler had been right, that I wasn't cut out for more. Then came Claire Anderson. She was the kind of woman who carried authority like perfume, subtle, undeniable, and lingering long after she left the room. Claire ran her own consulting firm, and rented the office across the hall. One evening, she caught me still working past midnight. "You've got grit," she said, pausing in my doorway. "But grit without guidance is just exhaustion. Let me show you how to work smarter." That conversation changed everything. Claire became my mentor, not by holding my hand, but by handing me the tools and expecting me to use them. She taught me how to negotiate without apology, how to price my services without guilt, how to say no without shrinking. She drilled into me the lesson my grandmother had hinted at. No one hands you power, you claim it. The first win was small, a client who paid me $500 for a marketing strategy. I deposited the check like it was a golden ticket, staring at the numbers as if they'd multiplied. Then came the next client, then another. Slowly, I built a roster of businesses who trusted me, not because of my last name, but because of the results I delivered. I posted little on social media, careful not to overshare. My family, including Tyler, thought I was just freelancing or finding my footing. I let them believe it. There was power in being underestimated. Years blurred into milestones. My first office lease signed under my name, my first employee hired, my first six-figure contract. Each step forward, I thought of that cardboard box I'd carried out years earlier. And each time, I told myself, this is bigger than an office. This is mine. The long nights didn't stop. Neither did the doubts. But I learned to quiet them with action. I'd sit with chipped nail polish and a messy bun, poring over financials at 2 a.m., and remind myself that this was the price of independence. Tyler had his corner office. I was building an empire no one saw coming. And the sweetest part? I didn't need to broadcast my success. Not yet. I was waiting for the right moment. The day I could show the world and my cousin that the girl they underestimated had become the woman who owned more than they could ever imagine. The text from Tyler had been short, almost careless. "Hey, Sam. Any chance we could catch up? I'm having some issues with my office lease." Irony doesn't usually make me laugh out loud, but that morning it did. My cousin, the same man who had once pushed me out of an office without a second thought, was now struggling to keep his. And he had no idea whose signature sat on the deed to the very building where his problems began. 2 days later, he arrived in my lobby. My lobby. He didn't recognize the receptionist's desk, the polished marble floors, the curated artwork. He looked around like a tourist, eyes wide, phone already out to snap photos. "Nice place," he muttered when the receptionist led him upstairs. He didn't know I'd been watching through the glass wall of my office. My heart thudded against my ribs, but not from nerves, from anticipation. When he finally stepped inside, I stayed seated behind my walnut desk, the city skyline stretching out behind me like a crown. I let him take in the details, the abstract art I'd collected from local galleries, the velvet chairs angled perfectly for conversations, the framed pen resting in a shadow box on the wall, Grandma Rose's pen, the one I swore would sign something bigger. Tyler blinked, confusion flickering across his face. "Sam, this is your office?" "My building," I corrected softly, savoring the words. "Welcome." He laughed, the kind of hollow chuckle people use when they're stalling. "Wait, your building?" As in I bought it 2 years ago." I folded my hands neatly on the desk, watching his posture collapse under the weight of realization. "Every lease, every contract, every office, including yours, runs through me." The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the city below. His jaw tightened, and for the first time in years, Tyler looked small. Behind him, the elevator chimed, and my aunt and uncle stepped in, his parents. They had come too, expecting, I guessed, to console their daughter-like niece who had never kept up with Tyler. Instead, their eyes widened at the scene. Me in control, their son unraveling. "This can't be real," my aunt whispered, her voice thin. "Oh, it's real," I said, rising to my feet. My heels clicked against the hardwood, steady and deliberate. While you were all convinced I was barely getting by, I was building something. Quietly, relentlessly. And now this. I swept my arm to the window view, the offices, the walls themselves, is mine. Tyler sank into one of the velvet chairs without asking. His hands fidgeted with his phone, as if searching for an escape route. My uncle's face flushed crimson, the color of pride tangled with shame. I let the silence do its work before I continued. You once told me I'd find something smaller down the hall. Remember that, Tyler? His throat bobbed. Sam, I didn't mean. You did, I interrupted gently. And it's fine. You were right. I did find something else. Something bigger. And now, the office you took from me? It's just a room I happen to lease to people like you. The weight of those words settled like a storm. I didn't need to raise my voice. The truth itself thundered louder than anything I could have shouted. For the first time in a long time, I felt the power shift, not cruel, not vengeful, but undeniable. Tyler had taken my desk, my little corner of pride, but I had claimed the ground beneath his feet. Tyler leaned forward, elbows on his knees, like a man bracing against a storm. Sam, look, I messed up back then. I was young. I was cocky. But I didn't think it would matter that much to you. I almost laughed. Didn't matter? Losing that office had gutted me, changed me, rebuilt me. But instead of laughing, I walked around the desk and sat across from him, knees crossed, calm and steady. It mattered, I said. But not in the way you think. You did me a favor, Tyler. You forced me to stop playing small. And now, here we are. My aunt cleared her throat. Samantha, maybe we should talk about family forgiveness. I held up my hand. No. Not forgiveness. Boundaries. I need you all to understand something. I'm not the girl you brushed aside anymore. I'm not the cousin who packed her things in silence. I decide what comes next. Their silence was answer enough. I turned back to Tyler. You want to keep your office in this building? Fine. But there are conditions. He blinked. Conditions? Yes. 1. You pay full market rent, on time, every month. No discounts, no family favors. 2. You hire people based on merit, not favoritism. I won't tolerate you treating others the way you treated me. And 3. You come to quarterly tenant meetings, yes, even you. You'll sit in a room and hear from the people whose livelihoods depend on the space they rent. Maybe then you'll understand leadership isn't about entitlement. It's about responsibility. Tyler swallowed hard. His pride was choking him, but his eyes told me he knew he didn't have a choice. And for you too, I said, turning to my aunt and uncle. If you want to stay part of my life, then the criticism stops. No more comparing me to Tyler. No more backhanded remarks about me being too ambitious or too stubborn. You either respect the woman I've become, or you watch from the sidelines. My aunt's face softened, but my uncle's jaw clenched. You've changed, Samantha, he muttered. Yes, I said simply. And thank God for that. I leaned back, letting the words settle. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't vengeful. But I was resolute. The girl they once dismissed had learned her worth, and she wasn't about to hand it over again. Tyler finally spoke, his voice low. If I agree, you'll let me stay? You'll earn the right to stay, I corrected. And maybe, if you prove you've grown, I'll even believe you deserve it. The air in the room felt lighter after that, not because everything was healed, but because the truth was finally out. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was setting terms for respect. And that, more than ownership papers or marble floors, was the real power. The meeting ended without fireworks, just the quiet shuffle of feet and the muted hum of the elevator doors sliding shut behind my family. For the first time, I wasn't the one walking away with my head bowed and my chest hollow. This time it was Tyler. I stood by the window for a long moment, watching the city pulse below, horns, lights, the endless rhythm of ambition. My reflection in the glass looked different than the girl I remembered carrying that cardboard box. The young woman with trembling hands had been replaced by someone steadier, sharper, stronger. Later that evening, when the office was empty and the hum of the building softened to silence, I unlocked the shadow box on the wall and held Grandma Rose's fountain pen in my hand. Its weight was comforting, familiar. The same pen I once clutched like a lifeline when I felt invisible was now a symbol of everything I had built. Her words echoed in my mind. Write your story, even if others try to erase it. I smiled, running my thumb over the smooth barrel of the pen. I had written my story, not with ink on paper, but with choices, resilience, and the kind of quiet determination no one could take away. Over the months that followed, I saw changes. Tyler showed up to tenant meetings, sometimes silent, sometimes defensive, but he showed up. My aunt softened, sending me small texts of encouragement. Even my uncle, still rigid, no longer dismissed me outright. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. And progress was enough. As for me, I stopped hiding. I let myself celebrate victories without worrying who might disapprove. I laughed louder, worked smarter, and surrounded myself with people who saw me as I truly was. That cardboard box was long gone. In its place stood a building with my name on the deed, a company thriving because I refused to shrink, and a life I had shaped with my own hands. I placed the pen back in its frame, a final gesture of gratitude. And as I turned off the lights in my office, the city sparkling outside like 1,000 possibilities, I whispered the words I wished Grandma Rose could hear. I don't just own an office anymore. I own the whole building.